Our next presenter is Andy Hornbuckle, who is the, it could be God breathing actually. Andy is the National Sales Manager of Spell Environmental, an Australian and New Zealand manufacturer and importer of a variety of stormwater treatment devices. Welcome, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. It's good to see a lot of people in the room here, I know, today. Good to meet a few people that I haven't met before. In the face of the lack of clarity of protocol in Australia, Spell has proactively launched 7 field testing sites at different locations in Australia. Spell has a wide range of products, as Brad has just said, targeting the whole spectrum of stormwater pollutants. So we are evaluating each device for its performance individually and in a treatment train. The objective for today is to identify and progress a framework for a sustainable, ongoing organisational model that can enable industry to peer review performance of both proprietary and non-proprietary stormwater treatment systems with a view to accelerating innovation for the benefit of environment. The Music Modelling Guidelines 2010, page 42, is a very good start for this state and all states of Australia, but it is not yet specific enough because the industry has moved on. We need to now get down to more specifics to meet where the industry is at. The absence of a clear national approval process results in the industry problem of many councils not being sure how to assess or accept the performance of proprietary and non-proprietary treatment devices. Therefore, there is a lack of courage and willingness to grant field testing sites to new products, and I don't blame councils for feeling like that. I wholeheartedly agree that all treatment systems should be field tested. However, it needs to be recognised in every product development cycle there is basically 4 stages. The first is the theory on the drawing board. The second is to practically build and prove a prototype in the lab. The third is to further prove the prototype in the field. And the fourth is to fully commercialise the product. By doing lab testing with real stormwater runoff, the results can be transferable to local and regional conditions. Imagine the young entrepreneur develops in the lab a highly efficient and competitive device with a demonstrated performance, but he cannot take it to the next level because he cannot get approval to put it in the field. Therefore, councils and developers lose commercially and the environment and the community don't get the benefit of the innovation. Just imagine if we were still driving Model T Fords and the Air Force was still flying Spitfires. There needs to be a mechanism that allows councils to easily and confidently facilitate Australian field testing of new products. Let's face it, there has never been a device that works well in the field, but it doesn't work in the lab. It is time for a change. I've been working in this industry long enough to see the good, the bad and the ugly. And based on my international experience, Australia needs to move on from the current parochial approach and draw on the United States of America, New Zealand and European experience. What Spell proposes is nothing new. It has been done before. The Stormwater Equipment Manufacturers Association, commonly known as SWEMA in the US, consists of prominent proprietary manufacturers. They have formed a committee and spent 2 years developing a framework and protocol for lab and field testing. WSDO, or Washington State Department of Ecology, and NJCAT, the New Jersey Corporation for Advanced Technology, are operational organisations that independently validate the performance of non-proprietary and proprietary treatment devices and provide industry with proven product removal rates. Let's learn from their mistakes and use their success as our head start on the road to progress for the Australian stormwater industry, where competition breeds innovation and the environment benefits. Let's face it, if the Americans can do it, we can do it too. Therefore, I propose the formation of a group of passionate industry specialists called the Australian Squid Approval Panel, ASAP. We need to move with conviction, clarity and urgency, so the acronym of ASAP is very fitting. Stormwater Australia will be the administrator for the panel. Membership will consist of 1 representative for each vendor and state committee and a minimum of 3 active university-employed academics funded by the application fees of the vendors. Stage 1 is called Preliminary Use Level Designation, like WSDO. ASAP publishes the nationally acceptable removal rates, and this gives the vendor permission to do up to 15 installations in each Australian state in a 3-year time frame, whichever comes first. Upon reaching 15 qualifying rain events in 1 field test site, The vendor can then apply for conditional use level designation with revised proven performance data. It is very important that these devices be tested for more than 4 to 6 rain events. Cold approval opens this market to 45 installations per state in a 6-year window with a view to obtaining 1 field test site per state to further define product applicability to local and regional conditions. The final stage is called General Use Level Designation, which will be approved on a state-by-state basis by ASAP based on state-specific field test sites with 15 qualifying rain events. The product is now industry approved for unlimited installation. In the event that modification is made to the product, the process starts again. ASAP's Task 1 is called Operation Level Playing Field, also known as Preliminary Use Level Designation. The objective of Task 1 is to facilitate by peer review the immediate approval process based on Australian and international lab and field results. Scientifically credible removal rates will be published on the ASAP website as acceptable for immediate use in music. Task 2 is called Operation Ground Rules. This is where ASAP reviews current internationally used protocols and they set the benchmark test protocols for proprietary and non-proprietary devices in Australia and the different target pollutants. So in summary, I urgently encourage the industry and Stormwater Australia to take up the roadmap to progress I've presented today as it is based on Australia's needs and international experience. Councils want clarity on product approvals. Manufacturers want clarity on the product approval process and consultants want more treatment tools. Spell is investing in field testing of its products in spite of the indecision in the industry. We are proposing a proven roadmap to the future today. Everyone in this audience here is here because this industry is environmentally and commercially important to you. We all have a responsibility to use our sphere of influence to benefit environment, industry and the community. We need you to email your relevant Stormwater Australia president today and tell him that the ASAP blueprint is how Stormwater Australia can add value to their members, the industry and the environment. Thank you for your time.
Sounds like a military operation. Does anyone have any questions at all? Oh, sorry. No questions at all.
Andy, how long did it
take? Sorry.
Per Newland from Adelaide. Andy, how long did it take you to think of all the acronyms?
That was spontaneous.
The road question from me. The roadmap sounds pretty good. Does anyone have any comments in relation to whether they'd be willing to sign up for it or otherwise?
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Does anyone have any objections to it at all?
Just my
comment.
I was just thinking, Andy, from the perspective of South Australia, if we go through another drought, but how we get 15 rain events.
And just from a consultant's perspective, who has almost no appreciation of money as opposed to my charge-out rate, the costs associated with this field testing, you've got 7 sites. If you could give some indication as to how much it costs to essentially run each of those, or set up and run each of those sites.
With the exclusion of the cost of the product, with the engagement with 4 different universities, and then the ongoing expenses, we are budgeting $250,000 per site for the first 2 years. So we expect to get 15 rain events, as Peter has just mentioned, that will be on site for a minimum of 3 years, 15 qualifying rain events. So our budget could well blow out, but that's what we've started with as a budget, $250,000 per site.
Can I just make a comment, Brad?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Rockler, and I assume Charles will back me up as far as humes are concerned, we're a very big company, so we have the resources to spend money appropriately. Without a protocol or without some direction or without some barriers to entry, our senior managers in the bigger companies can't spend that sort of money. They can't justify it because there's no reason for doing so. So if a protocol was established and it was a reason for it, the money would be available to be spent. But there needs to be some direction given and something at the end of the rainbow. You can't just say, okay, well, the market is still open for anybody who comes in without any testing, because there's no way in the world anyone will spend that sort of money for testing where anybody can come in underneath them.
And the other problem is that we engage with universities to do this independently for us, and then we get a council say, I'm sorry, but the professor from the university is not independent. We need you to go to someone else in the industry to get further independence. It's based on their interpretation. So we need clarity in the guidelines. And that can be worked out with a committee set up by Stormwater Australia.
Can I just make a point too? So one of the things that I see as being really important in this process is there's obviously for products that have undergone the testing and the investment's been made, it's really important as an industry that we need to have a position so we can go to the regulators and say, listen, if we want the regulations to be in place and used, there's an investment that's been made to make, to leverage that. So the fact that there is money being spent, it's wasted if we don't have the right level of regulation, and we need to be able to use that as an association to go back to the regulators and say the industry is making the investment and the regulations need to be in place and enforced, and that's the story that we need to be telling at the next level up.
And just as importantly, very equally importantly, councils need to be given the autonomy to allow field test sites to go in. It's very difficult to get a field test site because they say, well, we don't want to be the first, and what if it doesn't work? Yeah. So that's where lab data comes in to be very important. Lab testing done with real stormwater, not synthetic.
Sounds like an interesting conversation topic for after the break, but please join me in thanking Andy.